Welcome back, episode 2 of To The Wire Sports. Coming to you live right now. Russell Garges.
Killing Kramer.
Colin Adams.
Alright, let's get right into it. Killian Kramer. What do we got?
All right.
This week's headlines.
This week's headlines. College basketball begins. James Madison, big upset over Michigan State. And then additionally, Tennessee basketball is off to a good start. High expectations this year. They could make a deep run in the tournament. And so college basketball starting. NBA season also started. Victor Wembanyama, hard to say, has had some impressive first games. He's been looking good. And the Spurs have looked decent after a really bad year last year. And then Sixers and the Nuggets have been off to a really good start. After opening night loss, Sixers have won 7 straight and are top of the Eastern Conference. Maxey has been filling that James Harden role and is averaging 25 a game right now. So Sixers are looking pretty good.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side of the coin, Grizzlies looked very bad.
Yes.
Through the first 8, they're 1-7. Again, they don't have Ja. They won't for the next 17 games still, but 1-7 is abysmal. So that is our NBA as our basketball news for the week. And then the next really big news is second college football playoff rankings came out. What are our reactions, guys?
Opposed to the first rankings, I think this one is much better. I like where everyone sits at. I still don't necessarily agree with Ohio State. I still think Georgia should fill that spot of number 1, but I guess we'll see today against Ole Miss, which we will discuss later. Yeah, Russell,
Yeah.
any thoughts?
Obviously, since the new brackets the new rankings got a game under their belt from each team, I do like it more. Again, I do think that Alabama should still be a little bit higher. I feel like they've had more significant wins. I really like their team, what they've been doing. Just a blowout win, obviously, last Saturday.
Blowout. It's 40 points.
A dominant showing against a very good LSU team. And so I think that team's getting better and better. But other than that, I mean, you kind of know what you're going to get with college football playoff ranking.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Russell there. My underrated team for this ranking is Alabama. I mean, their one loss was Texas early in the season against a good Texas team, but they have just found their rhythm. Some really big wins the last 2 weeks over Tennessee and LSU, and they're looking really good and scary, and I think they should be higher than 8. I'd probably put them over Texas with how I know Texas beat them, so they can't do that. I get that. But Bama they found their way. They have new offense and new players, and they finally found that groove. And it's amazing that they only lost 1 game before they found their groove. But they're a scary team, and I really think they're underrated. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna go a little deeper in the top 25 for my underrated team of the week. There's a team that I talked about last week that I really like. This Arizona Wildcats. Yep, they are the Wildcats. This Arizona Wildcats team. They've been getting it done in the Pac-12. I know the Pac-12 is not necessarily the most impressive conference defensive-wise, but if you have a strong offense, you can get it done. And this team, I think they are a few plays away from being a 7-2 or 8-1 team. I mean, they lost to USC in overtime, lost to Washington by a touchdown. So that's 2 of their 3 losses. Dominant wins over UCLA, 3-point win over Oregon State. Huge win over Washington State, 44-6.
Wow.
I think this Arizona team, we'll discuss it later with our picks. Big game against Coach Prime's Colorado today. But I think this team has big things coming for them, especially in bowl season.
Yeah.
All right, and then flipping over to one overrated team. What you guys got?
For me, overrated's pretty easy here. I would say Tennessee again. I'd like to say Tennessee again, but I'm going to spare you guys from more comments on Tennessee. I would instead very much so like to put Iowa up here. Iowa should not be ranked in the top 25 in my opinion. Are they 7-2? Yes. Is their defense playing out of its mind as it has for the whole year? Yes, but I mean, this is a team that really does not have a great chance near anything in the playoff, near anything in the Big Ten, and I think that if they played any single team in this top 25, it would be an ugly showing for them. I like the way Iowa plays football. I really do. I like their philosophy and the team that they've identified as for the past decade or so now. But really, I mean, something's got to change. You know, you got to get some offense going. So I don't think they belong here in the top 25.
I'm just gonna say something on that. I totally agree with that. If you're looking at their schedule, they have had claims to mid-major teams: Northwestern, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Purdue. All games that have been within a one-score game got blown out by Penn State. Now, granted, that was at Penn State, but I agree with you. This Iowa team 7-2 record could easily be 4-4.
Yeah, I like the Iowa take. But my overrated team is gonna have to be Ole Miss, and I'm not saying they're a bad football team, but they're number 9, which is pretty high. And Ole Miss had a great year. They're 8-1. Their one loss was to Alabama, and I think that game really showed. It was 24-10 win, and that game really showed that Alabama was a better team than them. But Ole Miss just had some close games against teams they shouldn't have. Last week against A&M. And yeah, I just don't think they should be number 9. I know they've had good wins over LSU. They have a big game today against Georgia. I just feel like they are overrated at that 9 spot.
I'm definitely going to have to disagree with you there. I actually really do like this Ole Miss team. Have they played it very close? Absolutely, but these are SEC. It's against SEC in-conference opponents who are kind of fighting for their lives here, trying to get into a bowl game. The A&M win wasn't the best one, but going into Georgia, I think they actually do have a pretty fair shot. Jackson Dart has this offense rolling in probably one of my more favorite years of watching Ole Miss football. And really, the LSU win was a big showing for me, and then the win over Tulane was also another big one. I mean, they have the ranked wins. It's not like they're a Tennessee who's very closely ranked to them, who doesn't necessarily have the same prowess of schedule that they do. Now, do I think they deserve to be over Louisville? Absolutely not. Or someone like that, of someone of their caliber. But again, Ole Miss is a good football team in the SEC. It's going to be hard to put them any lower than that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ole Miss has had a good run to this point, but today is their Goliath game against Georgia, so we'll really see if they have what it takes to really make a run this postseason. With that being said, I'm keeping it in the SEC with my overrated team. Just gonna keep this brief. I think Tennessee. Now, I'm not necessarily saying they're a bad team. I think Tennessee does have some impressive wins this year, but they also haven't looked great in some ways. And I know I've been stressed it last week. Their game against Kentucky has really just been on my mind. Only 6-point win at Kentucky. Granted, nighttime game in the SEC. Always hard to play nighttime games in the SEC. But that game, they would not have won, and they would have lost by more than a touchdown if Kentucky could have fixed simple mistakes. I don't think Tennessee should be ranked where they are. I could see them more at an 18 to 20 spot. But today will really be the decider. And to be honest, I will go back on my words if they can get it done against Missouri, but I don't see that happening.
All right, well, let's transition into the big news in college football. Jim Harbaugh is suspended, banned from the sideline for the rest of the regular season. Guys, how much of an effect do you think this will have on Michigan's game?
Today against Penn State, I don't really think it's going to have an effect because, I mean, we didn't have this news until about 15 minutes ago, for those at home. And the team's been warming up with Harbaugh, and it's an early game. I don't really think it's going to affect them this week. I also think Michigan's going to win anyway against Penn State, even without Coach Harbaugh. But this Ohio State game, the Ohio State game coming up last week of the season is going to be, I mean, obviously it's going to be big. It's going to be for the Big Ten and probably number 1 spot in the college football playoff. But I think it's going to show its effect there. Ohio State is a good team. Michigan's also a good team, and they are really even right now. And this Jim Harbaugh suspension could be just the thing that sets Michigan back and puts Ohio State over Michigan for that rivalry game at the end of the year. So yeah, I don't think it's going to show today, but I think it will show the Ohio State game.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I don't think it'll show today. Remember, we had a similar situation at the start of the season where Michigan did not have Harbaugh. Still got it done, although against some non-Power 5 contenders. So not much really to say there. But they did have dominant wins over East Carolina, UNLV, and Bowling Green. I mean, not big wins, but it didn't look
Took care
like
of
it
business.
affected them.
Yeah.
They took care of business without Harbaugh. I do think it could shake some things up, will make it interesting for the Ohio State game. But at the end of the day, I don't see them affecting Michigan this week.
Yeah, I'm actually going to disagree with both of you. I think this is a huge win for Michigan. Look, the head coach, as someone who's been on the football field, it's a subliminal win because as someone who's been on the football field this past season, and I've had times where there was a possibility where our coach was getting in trouble, or maybe we weren't going to play with our coach, or he's arguing with the refs. That gets the team united. That gets the team surrounded, and we saw with everybody coming together, Michigan alumni and players last night on social media, kind of responding to this situation. I actually think it's a very big advantage for them. This kind of puts a fire under their ass to just go out and go win a football game, and especially when you're coming up and you don't have your head coach for Ohio State for something that you guys they probably think as a team is unfair because you're gonna have bias towards your team. I think that's actually a huge advantage for them. It's gonna make them want to try hard, makes them want to go get in a playoff. Because to be honest, Harbaugh's not calling plays on offense or defense. He's just the game manager, as most head coaches are, and so really I think they can do without him. That's why we see coaches get fired halfway through the season. We have interim head coaches. So I think it's actually a big advantage for the Michigan football team, and I see them going and being the number one team in the country at the end of the season, like I have all year.
That is definitely something that's going to be affected by the rest of the league, but it's not pretty Russell take, I would say.
Well, I mean, it's like I'm on a team, I've seen that, so I think I can speak from experience. Let's move on to our picks. Oklahoma State versus Oklahoma.
Last week.
Is last week's reactions, last week's games. Oklahoma State beats Oklahoma.
We all picked Oklahoma State last week?
I took Oklahoma.
I took Oklahoma State.
Yeah, you two took Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's what we said last week when we were in the previews. Just Oklahoma coming off a bad loss to Kansas. Didn't think they were going to be able to get it done at Oklahoma State. They were going to be fired up last Bedlam. And it played out exactly. Oklahoma State got a close win over Oklahoma. And now they are tied with Texas for the top spot in the Big 12. If Oklahoma State wins out against UCF, Houston, I think Cincinnati, so the bottom three teams in the Big 12, they go to the Big 12 title game. And now Oklahoma has an outside track on title game because they have lost to Texas and Oklahoma State. And unless these two teams blow a cupcake, Oklahoma's going to be out of the Big 12 title game, which is a really big deal.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think they deserve to be. They've looked really bad in the last 2 weeks. I get it, it's two in-conference matchups. You're not playing the most favorable opponents. But Dylan Gabriel has looked like a shell of himself these past few weeks. He's kind of starting to wonder, is he going to be the guy next year who can get Oklahoma over the hump, because I believe he is a sophomore this year. But overall, I'm not in love with this Oklahoma team. The defense is bad once again, and there's no surprises there. There's just more complete teams, and I think that loss last week was definitely a showing of, hey, this is who they are.
He's a senior.
He's a senior?
Huh. Yeah, he transferred from UCF. I forgot that. But yes, he is a senior.
He's a senior.
Okay. Well, Oklahoma's going to have a new quarterback next year anyway.
So it does not look like Dylan Gabriel will be the guy for them. So it's unfortunate for Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, you guys kind of hit the nail on the head with this game. I feel like there wasn't really much to talk about. I think Oklahoma State will have to prepare for that nighttime game in Houston. That's going to be an interesting one. Houston always seems to bring it at the end of the year, but other than that, Oklahoma State's got a clear path to the Big 12 championship. So,
Yeah.
Adios Sooners.
Next up, Washington beats USC Guys, do we think Caleb Williams even has a shot at the Heisman anymore, or do you think this actually calls into his, does this call into question if he should be the number one pick or not?
Number one pick now. I think he still should be the number one pick, but I think his Heisman chance is all over at this point. And also, I think it's because they lost to Washington and because he lost to another title Heisman contender in Michael Penix. And again, he had to play amazing to keep pace with Penix because Penix is having a great season. And USC played great in this game, but Washington's offense kind of just overpowered USC's defense, got the win. And although that shouldn't matter when it's Heisman, the defensive game shouldn't matter. As a quarterback, it does, and I think this is why Penix will win the Heisman over guys like Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, because even though those two have had great seasons, both their teams have 3 losses, and Penix and Washington are undefeated, and that's why I think Penix will win. So yes, I think Caleb Williams' Heisman chances are gone at this point.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, Caleb Williams has been putting up great stats, but at the end of the day, if you don't have a team that can get it done and really make a push, I'm not in favor of you. However, I do think the committee still will consider him, and he still will be a finalist at the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. But you just can't give it to a guy with 3 losses and possibly more, depending on how they play for the rest of the year. Still is the clear number one pick, like Killian said. I mean, obviously an amazing talent. Any team would be fortunate to have him, but I think this leaves the door wide open for Bo Nix to kind of strongly finish out the season and, take that home in his last ever season.
Yeah. I will say though, with that though, you said can't give it to a guy with 3 losses. Lamar Jackson did win with the 3-loss Louisville team and was a finalist with the 4-loss Louisville team.
Tebow won with 4.
Yeah, well, to counter your point here, Lamar was playing out of his mind at that point. Caleb Williams is playing like a very, very good college quarterback.
Yeah.
Lamar was playing in one of the best seasons from a college quarterback we've ever seen. And it was on Louisville. I mean, it's like Louisville, yeah, they were good at that point, but you weren't expecting them to be a title contender by any means. So I see your point there for sure. Let's move on. Alabama over LSU. Jaden Daniels, does he have a chance at a Heisman? He will be suiting up today. We've just gotten word. What do we think about this game?
Just a great win for Alabama. I mean, I thought LSU fought really hard. It was 28. It was tied at halftime. LSU gets the ball out of half, scores a touchdown to go up 7, and then Alabama started rolling down 7. Daniels gets hurt, kind of crushed our chances. But I think it's microcosm of LSU season. Offense played pretty good until Daniels got hurt. That's kind of out of his control. And then the defense can't stop anybody. And I know Alabama's a great offense, but 42 points again. This is a disappointing season for LSU, coming in as number 5, 3 losses, completely out of playoff contention. I think Brian Kelly might be on the hot seat, but that's a topic for another day. But on the topic of Jaden Daniels, I don't think his Heisman chances are crushed just yet. Again, he's had a great year so far, and his stats are comparable, if not better than Penix. Penix definitely has the edge right now because Washington is 9-0. But Daniels is still in that chase. Again, we looked at the odds right before the episode, and Penix is 1, Daniels is 2. So I do think he's still right there, but unless something happens with Washington and Penix, Penix will win Heisman. So they're not crushed, but this was a really big loss for LSU and Jaden Daniels' Heisman hopes.
Just very, very disappointing, but I mean, it shows how dominant this Alabama team is. We didn't have faith in them at the beginning of the season, but this defense is absolutely elite, if not one of the better second half defenses that we've seen from an Alabama team in the last 5 years. And then Jalen Milroe, I like what they're doing with him now. They're not asking him to do too much.
Sure.
And that's shown by his 4 touchdowns on the ground last Saturday. I mean, he's an absolute athlete. I love watching the way he runs. Just a very big, powerful, big body, but still very quick. Runs on a beeline. And if they're able to continue milking their run game as they have, controlling the clock, controlling the game, because that's what we see down the stretch they're able to do. I mean, I'll take this Alabama team right now over anybody. I think they'll be the SEC champions at the end of the season once again.
I agree with Russ on the SEC championship take.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see Alabama today against Kentucky. I think this has the potential to be a choke game. But at the same time, I think Alabama could also really just show all components of what they have to, like you said, be an SEC champion. And I do agree with you too, both of you guys. Jane Daniels, I still think, is in this Heisman race. I mean, 27 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. No matter who it is, that's pretty stinking impressive stat line.
With rushing?
No, that is
He's
passing.
got like 12.
Yeah,
Unless they want
exactly.
rushing, he's got 2.
Well, and talking about somebody like Caleb Williams is 28 for 4. 2 of your best passing stat lines. I don't know, you guys are pulling it up as rushing stat line
We are
currently.
pulling it up currently. He's 27 passing touchdowns. So I know Penix has like 300 more passing yards, but Daniels probably covers that with his rushing. Let's check.
But no, just this LSU team, it's just disappointing because I know, Killian, we were talking about it earlier, especially you being an LSU fan, but their offense looks amazing. It's just their defense that
man.
has really been the struggle this season, and you almost wonder if you put some better leaders, better defensive guys on their defensive group, you just wonder what could have been for LSU this season.
I don't even think. I really think it is the coaching because last year our defense wasn't bad. It was not bad.
Yeah.
And we got Eric Perkins, Mason Smith. Secondary has been exposed throughout the year. I don't know if that's coaching or talent, but we have good edge rushers. And I remember first game against Florida State, I think Perkins rushed the quarterback maybe 3 times. Our defensive coordinator had him in pass coverage. And this is our defense coordinator's first year. But just the coaching between Matt House, the D, and Brian Kelly is just abysmal. I don't know how long of a leash Brian Kelly should have. I don't think he should have that long of a one because just this year has been very concerning, especially after last year. But yeah, just disappointment for LSU. Silver lining is that Daniels having a great season. Back to his stats. Daniels has 3,400 total yards and 33 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Which
Impressive.
is excellent.
It's very good.
I'll pull up Penix. So.
Yeah, and while you're pulling up Penix, I think our last thing we want to mention, but we kind of have talked about so far, is Georgia over Missouri. I mean, not much to really say. Georgia looked dominant. Like I said earlier, I think they should be the #1 team in the league. See if Missouri can bounce back this week against Tennessee. What happens in the SEC? You get 2 tough games in a row.
Yeah, Missouri put up a really good fight that game, but Georgia just showed their dominance.
Yeah.
Georgia does this, and Georgia's starting to find that groove too. I do think Missouri was a little overrated, carried by that close game to LSU, who we've seen is overrated. So it'll be an interesting game today. Missouri, Tennessee, and Georgia Ole Miss will show us more about that matchup last week.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an exciting week in college football. Let's move on. This week we got our picks. Speaking of Georgia, they're facing off at home against #9 Ole Miss. What are we thinking in this game? I personally have Georgia putting up another dominant showing. I think it's gonna be a close one down the stretch. I think Jackson Dart's gonna stretch their secondary like it hasn't been done to a lot during the season. I think they're gonna take an early lead, but overall, I mean, Georgia's Georgia. I see them winning this game.
Yeah, again, this kind of goes back to my overrated pick with Ole Miss. And they're a great football team, but Georgia is Georgia. And until, they've won the last 27 games in a row. So until someone beats them, I'm just going to keep picking Georgia. So I got Georgia. And not even a close game. I think they're going to shut down this Ole Miss offense like Alabama did. And I think Georgia's going to get a pretty big win today. So.
Yeah, 100% agree. Georgia's going to show their dominance today. And by the way, quick shout out to go follow the To The Wire Sports Instagram page. All of our picks will be posted on there by noon today. If you do miss something and you want to get last second parlays in, go look at our Instagram page.
We got our parlays on there too. So.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to this next game then. Tennessee at Missouri. Very big matchup. Not in the game of, college football playoff rankings or anything, but just a huge pride matchup here in the SEC. What are we thinking, guys?
I'll let Colin take this one first.
I got Missouri. Going back to my overrated pick, I think this Tennessee team is solid. It'll just be interesting to see if they can actually close against Missouri today. I do think Tennessee will be up at half in this one, but I think Missouri will ultimately get it done in the long run of this game. Time will be the killer for Tennessee.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. This Missouri team, to me, has looked like a better team all year. They're playing at home, which, I mean, if this game at Neyland, I think we're talking about a much different story. But overall, I think it's going to be a very, very exciting game. I'm looking forward to watching today's slate of games. But overall, I'm going to take Missouri in a close one.
Yeah, so Missouri has looked good in recent weeks.
Yeah.
But I can't bet against Tennessee. Oh. Let's go, Vols, baby. Let's go. Alright, I got Tennessee winning in a close one today. Just that offense is explosive. They're going to get the dub, and I think it's going to be a great game. But let's go, Vols.
Let's go, Vols.
Rocky Top, baby.
Wow. VOLS. All right. Next game, number 18 Utah at Washington. Boys, I'm going to say my pick right now because I know that y'all are going to disagree. I want to get the conversation going.
Oh.
I'm going to pick Utah here in a very, very close game. Look, Utah has not shown up in certain games this year, absolutely. They've gotten embarrassed a couple times already in their schedule, but I really don't like Washington. I really don't like this Washington team. And even though it's at Washington, I don't think we're playing a night game.
No.
Which is really when I've only seen this Washington crowd really show up and show out. I think it's honestly a trap as Washington's definitely looking forward to getting to the Pac-12 championship and getting a win there. They're looking forward to playing Oregon again. But so overall, I mean, I think this is a really bad team that you want to have right in the middle of what you're trying to accomplish. So give me Utah in this game.
I'm going to have to disagree with you on this one. I think Washington's crowd has been consistently good this year, especially against Oregon's sold-out crowd. I think this game has similar stakes. They understand that they're not just looking for a Pac-12 championship. They're looking for that college football playoff berth. I think Washington's going to come in, get it done. Penix is going to look very good. However, I do think Utah will show up more than they did against Oregon. I mean, they just got killed against Oregon. I do think this game will be closer, honestly similar to the Washington-Oregon game, but I think these Washington fans, these Husky fans, understand what's at stake in this game. So give me the Huskies.
Yeah, I agree with Colin. I think Washington will get the dub. It'll be a good game. Utah has been quietly had a really good season, and they played some great teams close. Knocked off USC. I think it'll be a good game, but I think Washington will get the win.
Well, I mean, just to end it off real quick, are we going to just forget that they only had an 8-point win at a nighttime game in Husky Stadium against the Sun Devils? I don't think that their home field advantage means as much, if anything at all, considering how, you can go into the Swamp, a team like a really bad Florida team this year. That's a different stadium. That's a very good home crowd. A very, very bad Florida team is able to beat a Tennessee game. A Tennessee team who's really, they're a ranked team. They're not as bad this year. Definitely not nearly as good as Florida. So Washington to me does not have the swing necessary, and I mean they have struggled against really, really bad opponents. Worse than probably we've talked about Michigan not playing cupcake games. We've talked about Tennessee playing some bad teams. Washington's had a very easy schedule and has struggled. I think Penix is going to absolutely collapse against Utah. And we're gonna see his true colors. I don't like Penix. I don't like Penix. I don't see him as a pro prospect.
And I don't like the Utah defense.
Don't like Penix.
We'll see.
Write that down, someone. Don't like Penix.
That'll definitely be an interesting one. Not a rare afternoon game for the Pac-12. Definitely like it though. Get some more Pac-12 football.
Awful start times. Anyway, back to Penix. I have his stats pulled up. So he's 3,200 total yards and 8 total touchdowns. So Daniels had 28. Sorry, it doesn't have 8. 27. So Daniels has 100 more yards and 6 more touchdowns. But Penix has 3 more wins.
Definitely something to think about as that game approaches us very soon. And now our next game, big one. We mentioned Harbaugh is going to be out today officially. Michigan and Penn State. I'll get it kicked off. I think Michigan is going to win this game pretty easily, even without Harbaugh. I don't know what the Big Ten is doing with this scheduling. I don't know why this is not a nighttime whiteout game.
It's very bad.
I think if
Very
you
bad
add in
call.
those conditions, we're looking at a totally different game. I think this Penn State team, just the amount that the Nittany Lions home environment can sway games is
Yeah.
crazy.
Arguably the best in the country.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It is mind-boggling that they wouldn't put this as a night game. I don't even know what the night game is tonight. Like, I mean, it might be Georgia Ole Miss at 6, but do I want to see? I'd rather. That's a good game, but I'd rather see a Penn State whiteout top 10 matchup than Athens at night, man. Like, I mean, Georgia's a good environment, but
But nothing,
it's not
nothing
Penn State.
compares
It's
to
not Penn State
Yeah.
whiteout at night. And so it's just ridiculous that it's an 11 a.m. game, and it's a top 10 matchup. If one of them was not ranked, or maybe Penn State had dropped a game or two, yes, I understand putting us at 11. But when you have 9-0 Michigan playing 8-1 Penn State, you put it at 11 a.m. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that shows how much the SEC controls college football, especially right now. But because this is an afternoon game, give me Michigan by 3 scores pretty easily.
Yeah.
I think this Michigan team is so dominant. They're the only team who really does it every single time on the run and the pass. I absolutely love their offense. I think this is going to be a big test for their defense, though. It's going to be really interesting to see them against a more competent team. Harbaugh not being there, though, I think is going to light a spark in this team, especially one that's going to be needed to get it done against number 10 Penn State. So, yeah, give me the Wolverines for sure.
Yeah, I agree with both of y'all. I think Michigan will take the dub. If they get upset, I wouldn't be shocked, because this is a solid Penn
It's
State
number
team.
10 team.
This is a solid Penn State team, and Michigan hasn't played any ranked teams yet. I mean, I know that's how you get ease into the season, you know, and Big Ten's, but outside of Penn State, Ohio State is not very strong this year, and they play Penn State and Ohio State at the end of the year. But again, Michigan's been dominant throughout their season. Penn State just, with Franklin at coach, they just dropped these big games. I saw the stat today, but Franklin against Ohio State and Michigan in his tenure, he's been coaching for 10 years, so this will be his 20th matchup against those teams combined, is 4-15. So I do not think that he'll get the win today. He's 3-6 against Michigan as coach, and I think he will go to 3-7. So I think Michigan's going to get the win.
It's very interesting.
Very, very interesting. Vanderbilt legend, Coach Franklin. All right, we're going to speed things up a little bit. Let's get into this one. USC at Oregon. I think Oregon, definitely the more dominant team here. Bo Nix's going to handle business. And this USC team just does not have the stuff to beat the future Pac-12 champions. I got Oregon.
Oregon.
As much as in a Louisville potential playoff hopes, I would love USC to win this. I don't think there's a chance. Caleb Williams has hit rock bottoms emotionally, and I don't see them getting it done. Oregon.
Arizona at Colorado, last game that we're going to pick here. Look, I'm a huge Coach Prime fan. I'm going to keep picking him. They've got so much to prove here. And really, to me, the Arizona team has been very good, especially on offense. I really do like them. I think that they have a very bright future ahead of them. But then also, Colorado is riddled with talent. They've got so much. And I think, that they've just got to make a statement at some point. It's another home game. It's another night game. They played it close the last couple of games against who I think are even, if not better, opponents. I think Arizona's just gotten a little bit more of some favorable matchups in their corner. But yeah, I'm going to pick Colorado because Arizona has not finished in a lot of very, very close games so far this season.
Yeah, I got Arizona. I like Colorado. I like Coach Prime. They're fun to watch, but I don't like picking them to win, so I'm going to pick Arizona.
Yeah, back to my underrated team. I've got Arizona in this one. It'll be interesting, like you said. Arizona has had struggles with finishing. I know I said this earlier, but they could be an 8-1 team potentially. I know that may be a little bit of a stretch, but an overtime game against USC, 1 touchdown loss against Washington. However, Colorado's kind of in the same boat. They have not been able to cover either, or not cover, finish. However, against some lesser teams, for instance, a Stanford team that they were winning that whole game and just kind of looked like they gave up. I don't think really I should spend time or much time on this, but it'll be interesting to see the battle of the teams that have struggled to cover. Although I do think Arizona has been consistently on the uptrend, so give me Arizona in this one.
All right, we're going to transition to NFL. Colin, take us away.
Yeah, so big week 9. Lots of things happened. I know we discussed a lot last week, especially in our picks. Very interesting. First, we'll take it to the Chiefs and the Dolphins game. Chiefs looked great. Really, my only takeaway from this is, will the Dolphins really be able to be a good team? Like, they've beaten bad teams, which is not bad in the long run, but they cannot win the games that matter. Any
Yeah.
opinions on this?
Yeah, I think this is what we talked about last week for
Yeah.
the game. Chiefs got out to 21-0 start. It's impressive that Dolphins came back. It was a close game. I think they had a drive to win it. It's 21-14 final. And one of the Chiefs' touchdowns was a long defensive touchdown, which is a great play by the Chiefs, but kind of fluke if you're the Dolphins. Like, you don't see a fumble lateral touchdown every week. So this was, I think it was a great second half for the Dolphins. 14-0, almost came back and tied this game up. But this is kind of defined these two teams over the last couple of years. The Chiefs have been able to win these big games. Obviously, just won the Super Bowl. And the Dolphins so far this year have not. The 3 teams they played with a winning, 3 games they played against teams with a winning record, they lost. And so you throw in another loss this week, and yeah, the question remains until they can beat a good team. There's concern if you're a Dolphins fan because you don't know if you can make a big run to playoffs. You got bounced first round last year too.
Yeah.
Any thoughts for us?
Yeah, Chiefs are the same Chiefs as every year. I don't like the Dolphins in big games. I think Tua struggles when he sees a very, very good secondary. Look, he's still my favorite for the MVP as of right now just because of the stats he's put up. But overall, if he's going to continue to struggle in big games like this, they do have a shot of really coughing up this division to the Bills. But just with the way their schedule works, I like them for the rest of the year. And I mean, it's really hard. It's just really hard to beat the Chiefs. It's hard to beat Mahomes, but they didn't necessarily beat Mahomes. They kind of lost to the defense. Mahomes has been playing so in my opinion. Recently.
Yeah. For Mahomes standards, pretty average.
Yeah.
But that's still, I mean, like MVP frontrunner. So.
No, well, keeping it in the AFC, the Ravens, 37-3 victory over the 5-2, now 5-3 Seahawks. Are the Ravens the best team in the AFC?
Look, they're rolling, but I would not think so. I still definitely think it's the Chiefs. I don't think that this team is going to be able to finish against a team like the Chiefs. Look, they've played a lot of really good games. Their offense is very good. They're finding their rhythm here more recently. They have found their rhythm, yes. But when it comes to a playoff matchup, like who's going to be the best team? There's no way they're going to be able to march into Arrowhead or at home and take down Patrick Mahomes. I just don't see it happening. So no, they're not the best team in the AFC. I actually think the Dolphins are better too.
What's a scorching hot take?
That's
fire.
Yeah.
You know, I really like the I don't think the Ravens are the best team in the AFC. I also don't think the Chiefs are the best team in the AFC. Ready for it?
Yeah.
Be ready?
Sure.
Cincinnati Bengals, baby.
Oof. Okay.
Best team in the AFC right now. Rolling like normal. Beat the Bills again. Absolutely on a roll after a slow start. I mean, they just do this every year.
Swept the NFC West too.
They
Great team.
They
Love
do
this team.
this every year. They get on a roll. I know last year they lost by 3 in the AFC Championship, but Bengals I think they're 3-1 against Chiefs with Burrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the Bengals, and since they've gotten on this roll, they beat the Niners, the Bills. I think they beat the Seahawks too. So some great wins. Ravens are a great team,
Mm-hmm.
and Seahawks game really showed it. 34 point win, but just Bengals are rolling right now, and
Yeah.
they're hot.
Love
I mean,
the
they're
Bengals.
hot. Love the Bengals. So, but Ravens are definitely up there. So I like this question. This question should be asked.
Yeah. It's really interesting to see what's going to come in the next few weeks for the Ravens. I mean, if you're looking at their schedule for the rest of the year, it is difficult. Still got to play the Browns, Bengals, Chargers.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I mean, Rams should be easy, but then Jags, 49ers, Dolphins, and the Steelers. They only have one team that is below 500 that they still have to play on their schedule.
Yeah, I think
So,
certainly by the end of the season, either the Bengals or Ravens are going to emerge as I think the best team in the NFC in those two.
definitely. Okay, and now on another note. Last week we talked about the Texans-Bucks game. Talked about how we would see how CJ Stroud is having a great season so far. Lived up to the expectations. Nice win over the Bucks. Can the Texans make the playoffs? At a 4-4 team right now, they have a nice outlook on the season currently. I think CJ Stroud personally looks great as a potential rookie of the year. Didn't really think, I don't know, what do you guys think? Potential, seen a lot of places, potential playoff contender, Texans.
They could definitely sneak in. They've got a chance to win their division. It's been very weak so far, but that's really the only way I can see them getting in. If Minshew and the boys can start rolling again, I think they actually do have a better defense. And then the Texans, the prowess of their opponents hasn't been great so far. But I mean, the NFC South is very weak. Anything can happen. So, not much to say there.
I don't know about the Texans yet. I mean, they did lose to Panthers a couple weeks ago. I think we are quick to forget about that.
Horrible.
Like Russell said, I don't think this team can make the playoffs. They are 500 right now. CJ Stroud looks great. Don't get me wrong. I don't think they can make the playoffs though. So.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting to see in the next coming weeks. Speaking of another great start for a guy, Josh Dobbs. We talked about how Josh Dobbs was going to look.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot about the Jaguars. They're not going to win the division. They're not going to make the playoffs.
No.
Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, Duval.
Yeah, we'll get to that more when we review our picks this week. But back to what I was saying. Josh Dobbs, debut victory over the Falcons. 3-point win in Atlanta. 2 touchdowns, was 20 for 30 in the air for 158 yards. Vikings look solid. Lived up to our questions of whether Dobbs would be the one to get it done. Vikings now sitting at 5-4, above 500. What do we think of this Dobbs debut?
I mean, it's a solid debut. I mean, it's very impressive coming in halfway through the week and getting the win. But they played the Falcons. It was a close game. The Vikings are not going to make the playoffs. They'll finish out. It'll be a good season, and they'll get eliminated from playoffs late in the season. But I still don't have faith in this team. I mean, he beat the Falcons by like 3 points, so I don't think Dobbs can take them to the playoffs. I think we'll have an impressive rest of the year, but they are not a playoff team.
I agree. I do think so. I mean, they struggled to win games with Kirk Cousins, and Josh Dobbs is definitely not the quarterback that Kirk Cousins is. But you've got the potential of getting Justin Jefferson back this week. I'd like to see him work with this offensive line, some really good receivers. I think they're actually going to win quite a few games. I think they've got a small chance to make the playoffs, but overall, I think it's going to come down to the last couple games of the season. And shout out to Josh Dobbs. He's really going to get his payday this year. Playing at a very, very high level with a really bad Cardinals team. I think we're going to see him play at an even higher level for this Vikings team. So shout out to Josh Dobbs. He should be getting a substantial contract as he's going into free agency this summer.
Yeah, he's quietly had a really good year. That's all I gotta say.
Now I think for time purposes, we're just gonna get into picks.
Let's get right to it.
Yeah, first game on the slate. Mentioned it a little bit before, but Browns at the Ravens. I'm gonna get it going as a Lamar supporter. I'm supporting the Ravens through and through. I think their win over Seattle was very impressive. I do think this will be a closer one. Give me the Ravens.
I got Ravens. Sorry.
Yeah, definitely got the Browns in this one. I love the Browns defense. They're playing out of their minds this week, obviously, or this year. Obviously, Myles Garrett's a guy who I think is just one of the better players that we've seen ever so far as our time in watching football. And so I don't think that the Ravens have played the kind of defense similar to the Browns, obviously because they're the best. I think Myles Garrett's going to have his way against this O-line today, and they're not going to be able to find options like, I guess they're not going to find Zay Flowers and Aguilar down the field. They're not going to be able to make down the field plays this week, and that's what's going to kill them. So give me the Browns for sure.
OBJ. Last year won.
Oh, wide receiver.
There you go. Okay, and then another interesting one. Got a lot of high stakes NFL games this week. 49ers at the Jaguars. I'll let you guys start with this.
Absolutely electric offense from the Jaguars. I really do like watching them play. They're obviously the favorite for the AFC South and should be I think they're a sneaky contender, possibly to make a little bit of a run in the playoffs. I think Trevor Lawrence, though, is really going to show his prowess. I mean, it has been the ETN show so far. They've been running a lot of the offense through him. But with so many receiving options and a 49ers defense that's played, not necessarily up to their standards so far, I think that the boys in Duval are going to have a really good shot at taking advantage of them today. So give me the Jags.
Yeah, as much as I would love for the Jags to win, I got to take the 49ers. For Eagles purposes, if the Niners lost, this would really put them in a good spot for the 1 seed, but the Niners are a great football team. They're going to win. They have an incredible defense, and I think they're going to shut down the Jags. I know they've lost 3 straight, but if you look at the last 3 losses, you lose by 2 to the Browns. You miss a game-winning field goal. Browns have a great defense, and they held them to 19 points. You miss 2 field goal tries that could have won the game. You lose by 5 to the Vikings. You hold them to 22. Offense only scores 17. And then you lose by 14 to the Bengals. Offense again only scores 17. So the offense has scored 17 points the last 3 games. And even in the Bengals game, the defense held the Bengals to 31. It seems like a lot. Brock Purdy threw an interception at their own 15. So I'm gonna subtract those 7 points. Held the Bengals basically 24. So the Niners defense right where it is. Niners are a great football team. And this offense has been struggling in recent weeks, but they don't have Deebo Samuel or Trent Williams. I think Brock Purdy's going to get back on track this week. They're going to get the win, and this team's going to be scary once Deebo Samuel and Trent Williams come back. So I am scared of this team, and I think they're going to win.
Yeah, just to keep it short, I agree with Russell, what he mentioned. Jaguars, I think, are very sneaky. Will be a sneaky team in the playoffs. Trevor Lawrence been looking great. Give me the Jaguars. On the talks of Josh Dobbs, Saints at Vikings this week. Josh Dobbs looked good in his debut. Be interesting to see how he looks in the second game. I think, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know if I necessarily have opinions yet. I think the Saints will get it done in this one. I think they will be able to shut down Josh Dobbs. Yeah, I think it'll be similar to Levis and Titans. I think having a great game in his debut and then crumbling under pressure in the second one. So give me the Saints in this one.
I completely disagree. Dobbs is a veteran, unlike Will Levis, and he's played good every single facet of the season so far, and not just in one game. He's going to be working with a lot of more weapons than he was in Arizona. A much better football team overall. The Saints team is very bad this year. I've been watching the NFC South as a Panthers fan. They're not going to be able to get it done. They've been subpar all year, and they're going into against the Vikings team. It's really surrounding around Dobbs, surrounding around the Vikings, or Kirk Cousins' injury. Like the Vikings in this game, it's hard to play them at their own stadium, so yeah, give me the Vikings.
I agree with Russell that the Saints have been subpar. However, the Saints defense has been amazing, which it has been for the last couple of years. I think the Saints defense is going to shut down Dobbs Vikings. I think the Saints win. All right.
Yeah. Then there's another one we can get through quickly. Lions at Chargers. Give me the Lions in this one. Chargers have been kind of disappointing to me. I think the Lions have looked great this season, so
Yeah,
I think the Lions are getting so.
Take the Lions too. Chargers just looked inconsistent. Lions looked pretty steady.
Brandon Staley needs to get fired. Hope the Lions win by 20
Out of
plus.
here. Get
Give
them
me the
out.
Lions.
Get them out.
Commanders at Seahawks. Seahawks coming off a blowout loss against the Ravens. I like the Seahawks this one. I think they'll bounce back. I don't think the Commanders have what it takes to get it done in this game, although I do think this game will be closer. But in Seattle, yeah, Seahawks will do what it takes to win this one.
I think if we're playing at Washington, it's a little bit of a different story. I don't think that this team will be able to beat the Hawks at Seattle, but definitely watch for it to be a close game. Sam Howell will absolutely keep this within reach for the Commanders. I just don't think they'll finish.
Yeah, Commanders have been a sneaky team this year. Howell's had a pretty good year. So I think this will be a close game, but Seahawks will pull it out. Upset alert. Good balance game though. So
Yep.
tune in, ladies and gentlemen. It's gonna be a great game. But I think Seahawks win.
Yeah, and then our final picks, as you know, we always pick the Monday night football game, no matter how good or how bad of a game
MNF.
it is. Broncos at the Bills this week. Russell, I'll let you kick this one off.
It's at Bills Mafia. It's in Buffalo. I mean, the Broncos could win. They've played a couple good games recently. Russell Wilson's having a very, very quietly a good season. Very solid season for Russell Wilson that he's turned in so far. But overall, it's the Bills.
Yeah.
They're playing in Buffalo. It's going to be at night. Give me Buffalo.
Yeah, Bills are a good team. Even their losses are close losses, and they have games where they go and beat the Dolphins by 28 points. So I think the Bills are going to win at home and take care of business.
Yeah, no, I think the Bills got this one in the bag. Bills Mafia, baby. Go Bills. Okay, and then before we get into our final segment, our take a side segment,
Give it
let's
to
talk about our perfect plays this week.
Whoever plays first.
Do you want to do perfect plays first, or do you want to finish?
I thought we were just going to post them this week.
Yeah, no. I mean, we did kind of hit it.
We can do
everything.
You want to do them like what we just post them?
Yeah,
Okay.
we can just post our perfect plays this week. Okay, so make sure to tune in.
Yeah, let's check
It
out.
will be linked in the description, our Instagram, but to the side or to the Wire Sports podcast. Make sure to check out the Instagram. Our perfect picks will
Perfect
be
play.
there.
Be on the IG. Gotta check it
Gotta
out.
get on the IG.
All right, take a stance segment. Who are the Rookie of the Year candidates, Jill? Who are the Rookie of the Year favorites, ladies and gentlemen? Just gentlemen.
To me, the offensive one's definitely far and away C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud had the most passing yards in a game for a rookie ever last week, and obviously it's against the Falcons, but it's still impressive. C.J. Stroud's going to be a really dominant quarterback for the rest of his career. As far as what we've seen so far, I'd like to see him in more of a pro-style offense. I think that would be interesting instead of running play action almost every single play. But overall, Stroud's pretty much far and away the favorite there. And then on defense, I like the candidate, the Mississippi State man, the guy who's passed up a couple times, went a little bit later in the second round. Give me Devon Witherspoon. He's been dominant. He's been playing all over the field. He's gotten a couple sacks so far this year. He's gotten a pick. He's breaking up passes. He can play really anywhere as far as the secondary member goes. I'm absolutely in love with this game. I think the Seahawks got another Legion of Boom type player. They've gotten their identity back on defense with this guy.
Boom. Totally agree with Russell on both his picks. C.J. Stroud has looked amazing, and is far and away the offensive front runner. I really don't know what other offensive rookies have been putting
Hard to
up
pick
seasons.
against him.
Right. And then I also agree with Devon Witherspoon as a defensive. Almost picked Jalen Carter because I'm an Eagles fan, but then I was like, hold on one second. Jalen Carter's played in a great defense, and I think that's helped him because the offensive line has to focus on the other great linemen that we have. And then, Devon Witherspoon's just played incredible. The one Seahawks game I watched, I think he had a pick six. He had like 5 big hits.
Yep.
Great, a bunch of tackles. It was the one primetime game. But yeah, he's had a great year. And Seahawks are what are they 5-3? Having a great season.
Yeah, 5-3.
Yeah. So I agree with Russ, Stroud, and Witherspoon for rookie of the years.
Well, you guys are gonna absolutely love these picks. I'm gonna keep it so interesting and say the exact same because honestly, I don't think, especially on offense, there is anyone who contends with CJ Stroud.
I don't know if there's anyone else
I
in
mean,
the conversation.
we're looking at his stats. No, I am a stats guy. 14 touchdowns to 1 interception on the season. 1 interception. His QBR is 62.3. That's the 12th best in the league. He's thrown for 2,200 yards. He's just looked great, and I think he has some big things for the Texans looking out for not just the rest of the season, but future seasons as well. And then Devon Witherspoon, too, for the Seahawks. I mean, yeah, he's
Just looked excellent.
not much to say. He's looked great. I'm right with you, Killian. Watched the game where he had that pick six. Definitely big things come for him, like CJ Stroud. So
So, all right, that's gonna wrap up episode 2.
Yup.
Great podcast. Had fun today.
Yep.
Jealous.
Great show. We should be able to get things back on track from the tech side next week.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get that hard start date going. It's just been very busy. Expect a better, more improved To the Wire show next week.
We're
Very
improving.
excited.
And I will say too next week. We will have a guest picker on
Yeah.
next week.
Guest picker.
I will be out of town. I will be at the Louisville Miami game on Saturday next week, and then the Dolphins Raiders game on Sunday. So 2 games, 2 fun games. Get some takeaways from that. But yeah,
First,
no.
mix it up. Let's go.
Special guest picker. Be looking on the Instagram to see who that is.
And then, yeah, last thing. Like Colin said, we're going to be posting the perfect plays on Instagram. We could do this every week because this has been an hour. So we could just do it every week.
Yeah, we definitely want to grow our following on Instagram, and we want to make sure you guys have the best plays possible to gamble responsibly. Even though this is not gambling
Responsible.
advice. This is not gambling advice.
Responsible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go
Legally-
follow.
Legally, it is not gambling advice.
It's
When it's fun too,
Try better.
it's like a little competition too, because we'll be keeping up with our records on picks, and at the end of the seasons, we'll be able to review that and see who is truly the perfect pick.
Picker.
perfect play.
Picker.
Perfect play. Picker.
Perfect picker.
Oh.
All right, that's enough of the show.
Go follow the IG. See y'all next week. I have to come back here and end it manually. Oh, how did I end it?